In November 1863, Abraham Lincoln stood at the site of a slaughter and offered a heroic vision for the future. He described the task of government as intensely moral, a collective effort of the people, by the people, and for the people. Decades later, Charlie Chaplin looked at the same profession and saw something different. He claimed that being a clown placed him on a far higher plane than any politician. Chaplin was watching men like Chicago's Mayor Big Bill Thompson, whose administration was a parade of scandals. To keep his face on the front page, Big Bill once organized an expedition to the South Seas to find a fabled tree-climbing fish. This gap between Lincoln's moral task and Big Bill's circus raises a question about the nature of power. We often assume that the people running the country are fundamentally different from the people running a business. After the Second World War, economists followed the lead of John Maynard Keynes, who believed governments had to play a massive role in the economy. They assumed that once the correct policies for healthcare or education were worked out, the government would simply implement them for the good of society. This created a logical paradox. When these economists looked at a person buying shoes or selling a car, they saw a rational economic man acting firmly in their own personal interest to maximize benefits. But they assumed that as soon as that same person entered a ministry building, their personality split. Suddenly, they were political man, a selfless figure who thinks only of the nation and never snoozes at their desk or takes a 3-hour lunch. Public choice theory asks why we should expect a change in a person's suit or their office to rewrite the basic rules of human nature. James Buchanan didn't come from the influential families he would eventually study. He grew up on a run-down farm and spent his youth driving tractors and milking cows to pay his tuition. He viewed the highly educated elites who meddled with society from Washington not as heroes, but as just another group seeking power. While browsing a library, Buchanan found a German text by the Swedish economist Knut Wicksell. Wicksell argued that the state doesn't actually exist as a moral entity. It is only a collection of individual officials, advisors, and ministers, all with their own agendas. Buchanan applied this logic to a new field called public choice, which he described as politics without romance. He began analyzing politicians and government officials as people who pursue their own interests, just like anyone else. To understand why governments fail, Buchanan argued we have to look past the heroic speeches and examine the specific incentives that drive the individuals holding the levers of power. According to Buchanan, a politician's primary goal is to stay in office. To do that, they must secure the support of specific groups by offering them rents, profits, or privileges, like trade protections, that wouldn't exist in a competitive market. This creates a bias toward overspending. Keynesian theory says governments should spend during a recession and then cut back when the economy recovers. But cutting spending is unpopular with voters. Because politicians want to avoid annoying the public, they keep the spending high and the taxes low. The budget tips permanently into a deficit because the personal incentive to be re-elected outweighs the economic incentive to balance the books. This system encourages rent-seeking. Businesses realize it's more profitable to spend money persuading the government for special favors, like the American Association of Umbrella Manufacturers lobbying for a tax on foreign umbrellas, than it is to actually build a better product. The cost of these favors is spread out among millions of disorganized consumers who find it's not worth their time to fight back. Meanwhile, the few producers who benefit are highly motivated to keep the pressure on the government. Then there is the bureaucracy itself. Like the pondweed in this video, ministries grow because their officials want the status of running a large organization. They use their insider information to maximize their budgets, claiming they need more limousines and staff just to get the job done. When we combine these incentives, the result is a system that trends toward rising debt and bureaucratic bloat. These aren't accidents. They are the logical outcomes of individuals pursuing their own interests within the structure of government power. Buchanan argued that since we cannot change human nature, we must change the rules of the game. If politicians are naturally inclined to spend more than they collect, we must take that choice away from them. He proposed binding constitutional rules, such as a legal requirement for a balanced budget. By placing these constraints in the nation's founding documents, The long-term stability of the economy is protected from the short-term desires of politicians. Critics of public choice argue this view is too narrow. They point out that the massive growth in government over the last century funded public health and education, the very things needed to build and sustain an advanced economy. Furthermore, people often vote for ideals rather than their own bank accounts. If we only acted out of self-interest, few people would ever bother to vote at all. If a citizen can act out of sympathy for a cause, it's possible a politician can too. Buchanan's work doesn't solve the problem of human nature, but it does challenge our political romance. It suggests that if we want to improve our government, we should stop looking for heroes and start looking at the incentives we've given to the people in charge.